What's up guys, Janet here, aka Gameonysus, and you are listening to Gameonysus Daily, your place for video game news. It is Tuesday, May 23rd, it is finally my day off, and I'm super psyched about that. Of course, the news does not stop, so we're gonna keep on moving with what has been happening lately in video games. Something that's been on my mind, and I'm sure has been on your guys' mind as we approach E3 season, is what are we going to see from PS4? So Sony has, this reputation of having great E3, moments and conferences, but having it be stuff that's way out in the future. So I know what's on my mind for Sony E3 is, okay, but what about now? What about 2017? What about 2018? What is coming out that I can look forward to really soon as a PlayStation owner? So, according to Sam Witwer, who voices the lead character Deacon, it's Saint St. John from the game Days Gone. That game, Days Gone, will be present at E3 2017, quote, in a big way. For those of you who need a refresher, Days Gone, it's like the survival horror game that was bumped / I think announced for the first time as well at E3 2016. So we're going to see more of that to some extent. What does that mean? We don't know. Is it going to be, on the main conference? Is it just going to be a game that's playable at E3 itself? We're not sure what that means, but that's something to look forward to, hopefully for the near future, because it's said that that's going to be somehow at E3. Maybe there'll be a release date for that. We'll see what happens. More on the PS4 front, Uncharted is getting a movie, as I'm sure you guys already know. It's been decided that the person that will be playing Nathan Drake is Tom Holland, aka the new young teen Spiderman. So that has been met with a bit of backlash from people because Tom Holland, plays like this young teen Spider-Man. So he's not really, he's around like his early 20s, the actor, and he looks really young. So it's kind of like, why is he Nathan Drake, who's like this significantly older, like grown man who's like super boozy, and like broy and like suave or whatever, very very cliche action dude, Nathan Drake, being played by like this wanky Tom Holland. But the thing that I think people are often missing is that he's going to be playing a young Nathan Drake. So this is kind of, I think this movie is basically serving as a sort of prequel to the events of the Uncharted series, kind of exploring who was Nathan Drake as a young character, how did he get to meet Sully, his mentor, and become the person that we know in the games. Once again, refresher on my background for Uncharted is I played the first one, I played the second one, I'll start the third one at some point. I'm personally not a big fan of these games, as I think I've mentioned on here before, and I've definitely mentioned on the internet a lot. But I will say that I think, this movie could be like somewhat decent. I feel like Uncharted's already kind of a crummy movie, so I think it would make sense to make it into a crummy movie because it already kind of lends itself. Like, it's playing on those action movie tropes that, for me, are cliche and eye-rolly and don't resonate, but for other people, they get really into that, and I think that's why Uncharted is such a popular series as a game. For me, that doesn't resonate, but for other people, it clearly does. Like, I can't deny the popularity of Uncharted or the popularity of action movies, so, we'll see. Maybe this will be a decent one. Tom Holland seems cool, so whatever. I'm open to it on a theoretical sense. I probably won't be watching it myself just because, not a big fan of Uncharted, not that good. Action movies, not that good. Uncharted as an action movie, thank you, personally. But I think it's not as egregious as some people are kind of acting it is on the internet. Alright, moving on, we also have some Destiny 2 updates. So, Destiny 2 will not be having the Grimoire Cards. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar, the Grimoire Cards, the way they worked in the game, they were collectible items that you could get when you reach certain milestones in the game, and each of these cards, adds to your Grimoire points, which, gives you an overall Grimoire score, and it's a whole convoluted thing, but basically what these cards are is, they're these little cards, and on the back you get descriptions about the lore, Destiny's universe, kind of what's going on in the game, story-wise. And some people were kind of into this, but some people's critique of it was that, the lore is kind of hidden, and it's just, not really accessible through the game, and it doesn't really, you can't really get it's almost as if Destiny can't even get credit for its own lore because it's so, like, you know, hidden, such almost tertiary to some extent. So, like, you have to go to additional sources to get it, is what I mean by that statement. Which, you know, and then other people push back on that, I think, a bit. I mean, Overwatch, a lot of its story and its lore is not in the game directly, but I think, you know, certain games can get away with it and certain ones can't, and there are ways to approach it. We've seen lore and story approached in a lot of different ways in games, you know. There are, like, you come across the recordings, but then if you don't, you know, you're missing a piece of the information. So I think narrative is always tricky when you're doing something that's not as straightforward. And it kind of opens itself up to being a negative, potentially. So in this game, the lore is going to be just more present in the game. There's not really a lot of details into what that looks like yet, but I think that could be really cool. It could be a way that Destiny 2 separates itself from Destiny 1. A lot of pushback on the Destiny 2 like information that has been revealed, because a lot of Destiny fans, or just gamers in general who are maybe looking to get into the series, aren't seeing this as a big departure from the first game. The removal of the Grimoire Cards, having a more integrated lore, that can be a way that Destiny 2 really sets itself apart from Destiny 1. So that's not like, hey, this isn't just a patch to Destiny 1, this isn't just an add-on, this couldn't have just been DLC. We are revamping how we approach this universe, the gameplay in that universe, and the story that we're depicting in this universe. So I think that's actually a pretty cool move. And it's, even if, whether you like it or not, I think it makes it different enough that, you know, it can really, I think, satisfy some fans' cravings for a true sequel to Destiny. For better or worse, a true sequel, I think, is what people want right now. And that wasn't conveyed well in their presentation, it seems, just based on how people have reacted. So maybe I think this added information is them trying to say, hey, it's not just a revamp, it really is something different. Continuing on with, I guess, jumping into a new IP, I kind of threw Destiny in there because, of course, we always associate Destiny with PS4 because they have just kind of owned the marketing on that, which is why I've kind of have all these things together. LawBreakers is a game that released its trailer. So the studio that makes it, and it's going to be for PS4 and also PC. So it's a game called LawBreakers, and it's developed by Boss Key Studios. This is Boss Key Studios' first game, to my knowledge, from the stuff I picked up on. There's not a release date yet, but we know we're going to be seeing more of this at E3 this year. So keep an eye out for that, LawBreakers. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. Okay, if you haven't heard of this game, you're like, so what is the game? I honestly had a hard time finding that information, and I think that's like a pretty big negative. So I did watch the trailer for it, and you guys are, well, more than welcome to do the same if you want to see more about it. My beef with this trailer, so straight up, the trailer was just like, you know, it had Spirit in the Sky playing, which, even though that's an old song that's in its own right, I'm lying if I say I don't kind of associate it with Guardians of the Galaxy at this point. That movie was really big on its soundtrack, and I'm just like, okay, Guardians of the Galaxy music is playing. Then you have just some people shooting each other, and it came off as very, very bro-y to me in its gameplay, and I'm like, okay, so it's a shooter, but what is this game? So then I look up even more information. I, read over IGN's coverage, and they're like, it's a shooter. And I'm like, that's awesome. But what is it, though? So here's what it is, in a nutshell. It is a game that seems to kind of be playing a little bit on that Overwatch style of gameplay. So it's defined, once you get into the meat of it on its website. So I found this information on lawbreakers.nexon.net /en/game. That is exactly where I'm looking right now when I'm reading this out to you guys. So, it says gravity-defying combat. You choose your role from a cast of unique characters, each equipped with distinct movement skills, battle abilities, and weapon combos. Fight in dynamic, gravity-ravaged arenas that offer players a breathtaking vertical team-based battle royale. Okay, where have we heard this before? Yes, of course. So, that's what the game is. Its big shtick seems to be its gravity-defying components, so I guess it's trying to pitch its gameplay as, rather than being, moving around an area, you're like moving up and down an area, in a sense. Instead of moving horizontally, you're moving vertically, and that's kind of what it seems to be like selling as its big difference. You continue on, it mentions the different roles that you can be Whether you kill to uphold the law or are out for blood as a breaker, these symmetrical roles satisfy any appetite in an arena where the most skilled player and team will rise, is how it's described. Also, the whether you kill to uphold the law is just kind of a, ooh, that sounds like, I know it's a video game, and video games, deal with murder in a very casual sense, and I know that, and I accept it, and it's all good, but also, like, ooh, that phrasing does not sit well with me personally. It just sounds like kind of jank, and this whole, like, game looks like a little jank, but hey, maybe it'll be good. You're in a futuristic America, is kind of what's defined as. So now I'm reading about the maps of this game. Experience a futuristic America years after a global seismic event known as the Shattering forever changed the landscape and even gravity itself. Because science, okay. Become immersed into a raging conflict between law and breakers across nearly unrecognizable locations, ranging from a futuristic Santa Monica to a reimagined Grand Canyon. Okay, so this part actually sounds kind of cool, and I dig on that, using different, because I think it's a cool way to bring in, especially for American players, what we know as like iconic American landscapes or cityscapes, but then putting your own twist on them. I think that could be really cool. So the setting sounds awesome. The name of this game sounds really, really cheap. LawBreakers, because it's like the law versus the breakers. That's pretty weak. It's pretty weak, man. All right, so continuing on. Modes that matter, and we're almost at the end of this kind of info page. Once again, y'all can check this out, lawbreakers.nexon.net. Modes that matter. Fight to the death in intense game modes that elevate the competitive shooter genre to all new levels. LawBreakers' signature brand of gravity-induced chaos, combined with innovative takes on multiplayer game modes, offers a truly unique and exhilarating experience. Okay, so that part right there is pretty vague. And there are learn more buttons underneath all these little kind of chunks that I'm offering up to you guys of information. So, maybe the learn more will have that. I mean, assumably that's going to be more detailed, but just off the bat, that's like pretty vague for what your game modes are. But once again, just even having read through this, and I'm sure you guys can pick up on it, its big like shtick seems to be this gravity-defying component of it. And Hardcore Gamer, like the magazine or website or whatever medium that is, their quote for it is, "Not just another hero shooter." So it's very clear that, and unsurprisingly, I mean, they'd have to be so dense not to know this, but like, they're aware of the context that they're being released in. People are going to look at this and be like, okay, like, so you're not Overwatch. And, the issue with games like this, it's not so much that they're copying, Overwatch or anything like that. It's just that if you're coming out, if you're a hero shooter right now, you're up against Overwatch, and you're probably not going to win. So you kind of have to just be aware of that and think about it, and, you have to figure out how to innovate yourself away from that so that you can have, just kind of your own, you can stand on your own and create your own fan base and have, gameplay that differs from what Overwatch does, and just draw in different fans. I mean, when Overwatch first came out, everyone was talking about how it's basically Team Fortress 2. All the Overwatch haters was like, man, this is TF2, whatever, who cares? But Overwatch was able to rise above that and be its own game and have its own following and have, a great amount of success. And the success is still going strong. So I'm not saying this game is definitely going to fail or anything like that, but it's up against a lot. And for me, I'm not digging what I'm seeing right now, but we will see. Watch out for it at E3. Once again, the game is called LawBreakers. Some info on price points. There are no season passes. Any DLC will be free. That's super cool. And this game will be $30. But however, this game is digital only. It is only available digitally. And the CEO of the studio, which once again is Boss Key, his name is Cliff Blesinski, and he stated, LawBreakers will be a digital-only title for $30. He cites that, quote, discs are like voicemail, so 10 years ago, end quote. So I take a lot of issues with that statement as someone that is a big fan of physical media and also like acknowledges the importance of physical media when it comes to games being viable and doing well, and also just for like the gaming community in general. Like, Best Buy, Target, and all of those stores, they are down to sell these gaming systems because they can also make money off of the games themselves. I'm not saying that if we went to a digital-only world, that means all the consoles would die necessarily, but I mean that's something to that's a reality that you can have to consider. That it's more than just like my nostalgia, love, or appreciation for having a physical library of games in a collection. There's other practical points to it. Whether or not however you feel about GameStop, you can't deny that they're a part of the gaming community and an important one. Game stores are an important thing to have in a video game community. Don't know why people don't get that, but that's very much a thing. And that doesn't mean you have to shop there. I'm not saying that you need to buy your games physical. There are a lot of very valid reasons not to be buying physical only, and that's fine. If you want to make that choice, that's totally cool. But I think, I like the price point change. I mean, at least it is cheaper than we're used to seeing our games. I mean, cheap is always nice. But I think that statement is just really dismissive, and I don't know. It feels kind of polarizing and a little offensive to me as a gamer and as a consumer. I mean, we've seen, and the digital only can be risky. I mean, Xbox, that's how Xbox lost everything. Microsoft took a really big hit when they were trying to do this whole, oh, you have to be signed in all the time. It's like, very digital. You can't trying to get rid of the ability to have used games. Like a lot comes with this push towards the internet and this push towards digital. Both are absolutely amazing things, but you have to utilize that right and know what your fans want and know who your audience is. It comes off as a very douchey statement to me. That's in the past and where that. Why don't you just say your game's digital only? It's an unnecessary comment. You don't need to diss physical media as a dead technology just because you choose to do digital only. That's fine. I play plenty of games that are digital only, and I'm not a fan of their digital only, but I'll still play them. I'm not at that level where I'm not going to play it if it's not physical. But yeah, that just rubbed me the wrong way. So a lot of things in LawBreakers did not sit well with me, but I definitely encourage you guys to look into it, check it out, and keep an eye out for it because, hey, it's a new IP that's dropping. Always a fan of new IPs, in the sense that I am a fan that new IPs are coming out. That doesn't necessarily mean I like them, but I'm always looking for something new, and this is, a PS4, PC exclusive type deal, so that, hey, maybe I can get another game on my PS4. We will see. Alright, so continuing on, we're going to jump to Nintendo news. So Splatoon has a manga, if you guys weren't familiar with that already, and that's a series that's been running in Japan since 2015, but we found out, according to IGN, this will be coming to the West later this year, so keep an eye out for that, and it is going to be through Viz Media, which is a publisher that, was behind series like the Pokemon series and Sailor Moon, and they recently gained the rights to the Splatoon manga. So that's going to be dropping sometime after the game's launch, and I think this has been really interesting. I haven't actually really looked into a lot of the additional Splatoon lore that has been coming out in terms of the Squid Sisters and all that, but it's funny seeing this, or kind of just amusing or interesting seeing this, because it kind of goes into that whole thing of, everyone wants in on success in gaming, obviously. And part of Overwatch's success has been its additional sources to its lore, creating a fan community, a strong fan community, and a vocal fan community. That's been a huge thing. People are in love with these characters in ways that people aren't usually as connected to in games, honestly. I feel like a lot of times with video games, we do have characters we love, but we love the games more as a whole. Overwatch straight up has some fans that they don't even really necessarily ride with the game that hard, but they love the lore and they love the characters. I mean, that's kind of me when it comes to Overwatch, honestly. I haven't played it a whole lot. I think I'm just gonna lend it to my friend and let her play it for a while, because I'm not that good at it. I'm not that into it. It's just not really my type of game, and I don't feel like getting good at it, so I'm whatever. It's a cool game. It's a good game, but it's not for me. But even that being said, I love Diva. She's just a super cool character to me. I think it's really cool that there's just all these new characters that are always coming out. Sombra, I'm not sure if I'm saying her name right. She's awesome. Like, I ride for her. She's like a Latin character in the game, and I'm Latina, so that's dope. We don't get a lot of representation from, diverse races and diverse backgrounds, and Overwatch is definitely doing that, and that's super cool. And, that's something that I vibe with, even as someone that doesn't follow the game or necessarily like the game. Like, I vibe with this, and I want it to do well and be successful, and it's really cool seeing all the stuff that comes out of it. I mean, I follow a lot of people that are really into Overwatch, and I retweet their fan art, and I look into the lore a little bit, and I don't even play the game, and I think that's really powerful. So the reason I'm kind of going on this Overwatch tangent is because I think Splatoon is kind of trying to do something similar, and with the Squid Sisters, they're developing characters that people are attached to and that they like, that they're going to make fan art about, that they're going to make fanfic about, that they're going to be driving not just the sales of Overwatch, but the community of Overwatch and not just the sales of Splatoon, but the community and the passion around Splatoon. So I think that's really smart to have those additional sources out there in a way that's effective. All right, so Pokemon Go, global marketing product lead for Niantic, who is his name is Archit Bhargava. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. Probably not. So he's the global marketing lead for Pokemon Go, and he stated this summer will be legendary, which, of course, seems like it's alluding to legendary Pokemon. That's not confirmed, but that little teaser sounds like that's what it's going to be about. So that's cool. I think a lot of people at this point are like, oh, I don't really play Pokemon Go, but it's weird because I feel like everyone's like, I don't really play this game anymore. Yet the game's still doing really well, so it's a really interesting phenomenon, but I think the people that are still into it really, really are still into it, and I think it still is really big, especially amongst kids and families. It's easy to access. It's basically free. You don't really have to pay for anything unless you want to, and it's, a fun, cool little thing. It's almost like a digital, more physically active version of collecting the Pokemon cards, and a cheaper version of collecting the Pokemon cards. So yeah, it's something that I think people are still really into, even though a lot of people my age and that I talk to, they're kind of like, I'm kind of over it. All right, continuing on, Red Dead Redemption, it is delayed. It was originally set to be this fall. It is now pushed to spring of 2018. And once again, this is releasing on both PS4 and Xbox One. So that got delayed. Rockstar announced that delay really recently, yesterday, if you're listening to this today. And just a quick refresher, Red Dead, open world Western action-adventure video game, developed by Rockstar, of course. And it's super popular and allegedly really, really good. I've never played it. Honestly, this delay is like, hey, maybe I can hit this Red Redemption 1 and then get ready for Red Dead Redemption 2. So that's how I'm going to use the delay. So, just kind of using that towards my own benefit. ARM's Global Test Punch information. So earlier on this show, I mentioned that we're not sure what characters will be available during the Test Punch, which once again is launching on May 26th, so mark your calendars for that. It's confirmed that all 10 characters will be playable in that. So that's cool. You can experiment with all of that, and that's really nice to be able to kind of give a full test of the game in that sense. More Nintendo, Rhyme, which once again, that will be coming out on Nintendo Switch, but it is going to be coming out later than on other platforms. So Rhyme on the Switch specifically, it will not be running 1080p 30 frames per second when docked. It was originally said that it would run that speed when docked, and then 720 in handheld. It's going to be 720 in both. So it's not going to be running at usually it'll look a little bit better if you have it docked. It is now confirmed that it's just going to be 720p on both, and that's how it's going to be running. So keep that in mind, in terms of how it looks. Maybe that changes where you want to buy it at. But yeah, so that's the news on Rhyme. Far Cry 5. Far Cry 5 was announced. That's going to be a thing. Ubisoft announced that earlier in the month. But they also now just released, this is super weird, a teaser trailer for the announcement trailer. They're teasing the announcement trailer, which the announcement trailer will be out Friday, May 26th. But a little teaser for the announcement trailer has launched. And that was basically just to tell us that the setting is going to be Montana for Far Cry 5, which is cool. All right. we'll see what comes out Friday, May 26th as far as Far Cry. If you're a fan of that franchise, keep your eyes peeled for that. But that's all the information that Ubisoft dropped on that as far as Far Cry. Xbox One Scorpio news. Just kind of a quick confirmation that we got via Twitter yesterday was that the Scorpio will not be held back by the Xbox One in the sense that they are fine with games looking better and like running at a higher fidelity than on the Xbox One. This happened because like it was a conversation happening on Twitter, and during that conversation, the Xbox engineering lead, whose name is Mike Ybarra, if I'm saying that correctly, he said, "It is up to the developer to choose for their games what they want to do," and he had an additional tweet saying, "Developers are free to choose how they use the power of Project Scorpio for games. We have no requirements limiting frame rate or fidelity." So just kind of a confirmation that like, the Scorpio will be, souped up as much as it can be, and the fact that it's going to be playing the same games as the One isn't going to hold it back. Just kind of a quick confirmation on that. Once again, as of this point, there are no exclusives going to be coming out for Scorpio. We'll see if that changes. I don't know. I don't think it will because I don't think they want to mislead fans, but I could see it maybe changing later. We'll see. On that same note, Sony's been kind of talking or replying to people in regards to where they're at, like headspace-wise, business-wise, with all this competition coming out. So obviously they have the Switch that's already out. Project Scorpio's dropping really soon. We kind of assume it's dropping really soon, but we're definitely going to be hearing more about it at E3. And during that, Sony was basically just kind of talking about the fact that with PlayStation VR, they're going to be pushing more units out because that's been pretty scarce. If you guys have been looking to buy your PlayStation VR, you will know that it's hard to do, and it's been hard to do for a while. They mentioned that the volume of shipments will be increasing. This is information all from DualShockers, by the way. It will be increasing, and that leaves room for some reducing the cost of the headset. And their basically overall comment was that, if anything, having this more competition kind of almost revives the gen in some way. And, during that, like, revival or refresher of this generation of games, like, the PS4 Pro can have its chance to, like, kind of shine again. Because if right now we're moving, the big thing is we have Switch and we have these consoles that have higher graphical capabilities and perform at a high level, then it's going to kind of, like, it's almost like Scorpio is going to kind of remind people that, hey, we also have the PS4 Pro. If you're looking for high fidelity gaming, you have two options. And remember that you have those two options. And in that, they're hoping that, the PS4 will kind of rise to the top of that competition. We will see what happens. I'm honestly thinking Microsoft's going to blow everyone out of the water with this right now. Switch is definitely up there too, but it's just different. I think in terms of if we're looking for, high-powered consoles, like it's going to be all Scorpio all day, but it'll also be dependent on the price, which honestly I'm thinking it's going to be $499 for it. That's my prediction, so we will see what happens. I really hope it's not higher, and I would be shocked if it's lower. I'd be really, really shocked if it's lower than that. All right, continuing on, we're hitting our more random tidbits of news at this point. This news comes to you guys from Nathan Grayson of Kotaku, who reported that the Pro Overwatch is going to get an official minor league. So this is just I'm going to read through some direct content from his article on that. So once again, the title of that is Pro Overwatch Gets an Official Minor League. Nathan Grayson of Kotaku. Quote, Blizzard announced Overwatch Contenders, which they're calling a development league for aspiring Overwatch League professionals. Season 0 is going to start over the summer in North America and Europe. It'll take the form of an open sign-up, online-only qualifier with the goal of prying the top 8 teams in each region out, from, the pool of people playing. The prize pool for each Season 0 tournament will be $50,000. All right, continuing on with information. Season 0 will give way to Season 1, in which 8 qualifying teams from each region, a total of 16 competing in 2 separate tournaments, will duke it out across 6 weeks of round-robin competition. 4 teams from each region will then move to the top of their respective playoffs, where they'll have a shot at dipping a giant golden ladle into 100 a $100,000 prize pool. In 2018, Blizzard will kick off the Overwatch Open Division, which will offer emerging teams a path to Overwatch Contenders seasons in each region. All right, so we're going to pause there, take a quick pause on that quote from Nathan Grayson on his write-up of that information he reported on. So it's a lot of information to take in. Like regular sports, esports can get kind of complex, and it's a growing new thing. I mean, obviously esports has been happening for a long time, but like for it trying to get at that next level, that's new. That push is new. So basically what this looks like is there's just going to be kind of different tiers almost. So we have, our professional Overwatch, like the ultimate level. Then we have Overwatch Contenders. That's new. That's going to be their minor league. And then from me reading this, there's also like kind of a way to get into that minor league as well. So there's going to be kind of steps. I think this is really, really, really important. So the reason this is important is because if we want esports to be mainstream, be bigger, be better, actually be able to pay its players living wages and the amount of money they deserve for the level that they're performing at, which is a professional esports level. In order for all those great things to happen, esports needs to get bigger. In order for that to happen, there needs to be like clearer paths to get into esports, and this is a step in the right direction for that. Because right now, like if you want to be a professional athlete, like in traditional sports, basketball, for instance, there is a route for that. You play, as a kid, then you play in your high school team, and then from there you go to college, and then from there you go to the NBA, and that's how you do it. And, and there are other things you can do along the way if you decide to, maybe you do coaching or something else, but there's a path. There's a way to do it, and then there are camps that you can go to as well. Like, there are options for you if you want to pursue that as a career, if you have the talent and the drive to do that. For esports, it's not the case. I mean, that's why it's so crazy. We see these, documentaries of these amazing gamers, whether or not they're in traditional esports or just really good at a game, like an arcade game or getting high scores on things. Like they're like the greatest in the world, and they're just like working a regular job and just doing whatever, like barely making it by, and it's ridiculous and crazy. And there needs to be like ways to get this talent out in a way that's effective and reasonable and makes sense and is known to people. So I think it's really cool that Blizzard is having that minor league, and that's really important. So we'll see how that continues to build. Because it's really hard to even, we don't really even know a lot about esports. Like unless you're in the community, like it's not known how to do that. Like, we want esports to get to the point where it's like as well known as other sports, so that like even me not knowing a lot about sports, like I know the basics of it. I know what it like means to be like at what level, or how you get to those different levels. For esports, it's like, how do I even get into that if I want to? And it's not really well known. The more well known that gets, the more you'll have people rising up and saying, yeah, I want to do this, and pursuing it and having a plan that they can follow. And that's awesome and really important. So continuing on, this also actually comes from Nathan Grayson from Kotaku. So he's just been killing it lately, I guess. This is just like a small aside, but I just thought it was really interesting. So of course Kotaku does a bunch of things, news, esports, highlighting games. And they highlighted this one game that really stood out to me. It's called Risky Phone. It's a free game that you can get on your phone, obviously, and it is like basically a sim about like you doing like stuff on your phone when you should be paying attention to the real world. So what you're doing is that you get like these score points by like this color matching system, which is on your in-game phone while you're like doing different tasks in the game, if that makes sense. So you like are trying to like look out for pedestrians and cars while you're like looking at your in-game phone. And like, you can get like hit with things and like all this crazy stuff happens, and then you can end up like getting dead or injured and stuff. And it's kind of just like almost a way to basically warn you about the dangers of looking at your phone. So it's like a game that, plays on what we do in real life, which is we look on our phone like all the time when we should be paying attention to other things, which is, it's pretty trippy. So it's an itch.io game. So actually let me check. Can I play it on my phone? I would assume so. Let's see. Can I? I'm looking. Now I'm not sure if you can actually play it on your phone. I think it's just for think it actually might be a PC game. This should definitely be a phone game, I feel like, even though that's trippy because it's like you're on your phone and then there's an in-game phone. Looks like it's only available on Windows, though, on itch.io, so you can find Risky Phone. If you want to just jump straight there instead of going through his article, you can go to pomb.itch.io/Risky Phone, and that's a downloadable game for Windows. So it's like so the description of the game is, let's aim for high score of smartphone while walking smartphone. If you are too absorbed in your smartphone, you will get hit by a person or a car. You will miss your train if you are not too careful. So that's what the game basically is. And yeah, so that's it. So I just wanted to highlight that. Oh, and you can use an Xbox controller for it, so that's cool. Just want to highlight that because it just seemed like an interesting game, and it caught my eye when I was looking through stories. So I just wanted to let you guys know that is in fact a thing if you want to check that out. itch.io always has the best weird little games, and I love that. So if you've never gone to itch.io to look at their games, do it. It's awesome. A lot of weird stuff on there, and some really good stuff on there. So definitely a way to like learn more about the indie scene and see what's up with these like small developers and what kind of things they're working on. And also a way to support them, because it's usually like the games are really, really cheap, or they're like a pay whatever you want type thing. So definitely something you guys should be checking out. All right, and on our last note of a little bit of news, this is something that I wish I knew more about, or that there's more information on. So I was just kind of going through my Twitter feed for picking up stories I wanted to share with you guys today, and I came across IGN promoting these t-shirts that said like Gamer Health Matters, and they're like, hey, make sure you get your shirt before it's too late. So I did a little bit of poking around on the internet, and what this is, you can get these shirts via Teespring. So if you just Google hashtag Gamer Health Matters, and then Teespring, it should come out pretty easily when you do that. And what this is an initiative created by the Spazzy Prof and Captain Twaz. That's just like their handles. They're like that's just like their Twitter handles basically. And it's to inspire gamers to think about their in real life health and encourage a healthy mindset in the gaming community. So basically, buying these shirts is just kind of a way to promote like that idea. It's not the thing that kind of bummed me out is based on like doing a little bit of research on this. It doesn't seem like it necessarily goes towards like, you know, like a charity or anything kind of that feels like it's doing a bit more. Like obviously being aware of things in the community is important, and like, you know, information is the first step, but I kind of wish that there was like a little bit more action behind it, because right now it feels kind of, you know, just shallow in its goals. Like right now the goal is just to like, hey, don't like be unhealthy. I mean, that's important and cool, but I would have liked to see a little bit more from that. But if you're interested in checking that out, that's going to be at teespring.com/stores/Gamer Health Matters. That's going to be how you get to that. And there's a couple designs. There are 3 designs, and they can come on t-shirts, a hoodie, or a coffee mug. There's like, I have some interest in this. I mean, like I said, I wish it had like more of a direct impact on something more that had like more momentum to it, but like the information itself isn't bad. I definitely support like what they're trying to get at with like, you know, being healthy both physically and mentally. I mean, we've seen that a lot with you know, Twitch streamers, or like people streaming way too long with their games, or just like working too hard, or like, you know, anyone who is a gamer should know that like when you game too much, it can like be kind of, if you do anything too much, it can get intense. So like, you know, making sure you're like hydrating, making sure you're going outside and going for a walk and taking breaks. I mean, that's true for anything you do, especially when you're doing work that's very screen oriented. I mean, whether you're writing, podcasting, blogging, gaming, whatever you're doing, it can start to take a toll. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself. You know, all you guys who are listening, and if wearing this shirt can start a conversation with someone else about like, hey, what's with the shirt, and you can kind of have that quick conversation that I'm having with you guys now, like that makes it worth it to me. Like I said, I would have just liked to see like, you know, maybe a small proceeds going to something that has a little bit more legs to it rather than just the campaign itself. But once again, you want to check that out. It's teespring.com/stores/Gamer Health Matters to take a look at what things you can buy. The shirts are the shirts/mugs. It ranges from $15 to $40, like if you want like a hoodie or something. But the shirts themselves are around like the 20s range. So pretty reasonable, decent price. And this kind of campaign is partnered with the Spazzy Prof, Teespring, IGN, Pro Bono, Level Up Friends, and Plus One Life are the partners. Twitch, I believe, is also a partner, and so is Professor Broman and Level Up Foods. It is. My apologies, and Plus One Life. So they have a couple of partners and sponsorships. So it is nice to see the community gather around this and acknowledge it as an important thing that we need to be reminding each other, not just as gamers, but as people. All right, so that about wraps it up for our show today. I'm thinking let's see. I guess my question for you guys is, I feel like I thought of a different one before this while I was talking, but I don't remember that one, so I'm just going to give you guys this one. My question for you guys is, what does it take for a game to stand out in a certain genre, and what are some examples of games that have stood out in a genre amongst other games of its kind? Are there games that you are really into that no one else sees as the standout game in the genre, but you're like, no, this is actually where it's at? So a good example would be hey, do you like Battleborn and everyone likes Overwatch? What are your examples of that? I know that, Breath of the Wild came out of left field in the sense that we all knew it'd be good, but the big question was can they really rock this rock this open world genre? And they totally did. And now it's we were worried about Nintendo being able to take note from everyone else, and now we're everyone else needs to take notes on Breath of the Wild because that's how you do it, which is pretty crazy. So what are some examples of that? Are there genres that you're maybe getting sick of because you feel like they haven't been done well in a while? So for a while, I think that was open world to an extent, and I think games like Breath of the Wild, games like Horizon Zero Dawn, they really did do some interesting things with it, even though I didn't play Horizon. But yeah, so what does it take to be standout in a genre? What are some games that you think stand out really well in a genre? What are some games that you think don't stand out well at all in a specific genre? And then what are some games that you're hey, for me this is the game for this genre, but everyone else is no, that's the bootleg of some other more popular game. Let me know your feelings about that. Your answers, thoughts, questions, concerns, whether or not you are excited or intrigued by, LawBreakers. Let me know what you guys are thinking. You guys can contact me on social media. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Gameonysus. So once again, that's GameOnysus. So definitely hit me up on there. You can also comment on this audio feed, this podcast itself. If you're listening on SoundCloud, I'm also on YouTube if you just look up Gameonysus Daily. And if you are listening on YouTube, you can also find me on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Gameonysus. And I will see you guys here tomorrow. Thanks.